Yeah, hi YouTube. Howard here with my Buffalo shirt on. I'm not at the shop, but I'm here to talk to you about the Crown Victoria, the 2004 Crown Victoria um, front strut spring job we're doing that was in the previous videos. For those keeping score at home, this is Chevis Regal Scotch I recently acquired as a gift, and it came with a pair of these glasses, the glass in my hand, not the ones on my face. I've got a lot to talk about. Um, I did put the springs and struts, the combination, they're loaded struts, in the 2004 Ford Crown Victoria, but only on one side because I've not yet completed the job. But I took it out and I've been driving it. I actually completed the job, the one side, um, 2 days ago, and the job also entails new upper control arms. And the reason why I did that was the upper control. I noticed when I inspected the car before scheduling the job that one of the upper control arm ball joints, the rubber boot was torn, allowing dirt and moisture to get in there, and it looks like it's the original ball joint and arm. For all I know, the car just turned 100,000 miles. Just to kind of, in case you're new here, that's why I'm fixing the car up. I just kind of got excited about its anniversary and thought I'd be nice to the car and fix a few broken things on it, or things that needed, preventative maintenance. So I ordered some really cheap upper control arms. And what's nice is I could have just changed the ball joint for a few bucks, but I got upper control arms for only, I think they were like $21 each. They were manufacturer's closeout at Rock Auto. And of course, you get new bushings and everything, So you not only get the ball joint and the control arm, but the bushings, which after 100,000 miles, it never hurts to have nice tight rubber bushings. I like rubber rather than poly because I want the car to ride smooth. I like the feel of the rubber parts personally. So anyway, and the whole job did not cost much because I bought the struts. They've been sitting on the shelf for 2 years. I got them in January 2019, for crying out loud. I looked at the receipt, and they've been sitting in the boxes on the shelf. And I also purchased those at manufacturer's closeout, very cheap. I believe on the receipt, which I stored with them from Rock Auto, it was $107 for the pair. And these are loaded struts, and they're some cheap brand. The name of the brand didn't mean anything to me. They look pretty nice. It went in decently with the usual prying. So anyway, the one side is in, and right off the bat, I was happy because one of my desires for doing this job was I wanted to restore the ride height in the front. Now, 2 years ago, when I bought the struts, I also bought rear springs and rear shocks, nice soft cushy ones. And those I installed in 2019. And then I just never got around to the front till now, which is why we're here on YouTube discussing it. So the revelations, it did raise that corner. And you're wondering, like, how can you drive around with one new strut and spring? You'd hardly not unless you were looking and comparing the wheel well openings, you wouldn't really notice, even if you're driving it. And I was kind of curious to see what would happen if you, because they always say, you got to replace them in pairs. And for customers, I always replace them in pairs. I always wondered though, do you really, you really have to, especially if the other one isn't, like that old? No, you don't have to. If the other one isn't like in my case, yeah, because the thing had 100,000 miles and these springs were shot. The struts had been replaced by Michael Emick at Goodyear 10 or 12 years ago. And he did not replace the springs. He just replaced the struts and put the old springs on the struts, on the new struts, because the springs weren't in stock. So he just did it. So these springs were ready. Now, I'm very, very happy. And I should have said this right at the front. Maybe I'll put it in the title. I'm extremely happy with the car, with this repair. I'll explain why. More than you can imagine, because I've been really troubled by the handling of the car. And I thought the poor handling was because I bought the world's cheapest tires for the car. The fronts are really old. They're getting ready to be replaced. They're still legal, but the new ones I put on, I just rotated to the back of the car after driving them on the front. And I bought these tires. They were like, I don't know, like 45 or 50 bucks from Walmart. I ordered them and had them delivered. And then I took them to my local tire place and had them put on my wheels. I just brought them the wheels and had them put them on. And partially because my budget was very tight at the time. And secondly, I've always just been curious, like, would crappy tires, like, is it worth the difference? The difference in money is astounding. I mean, as you know, you could pay a couple $100 for a premium tire, for a really good one. For my sports cars, of course, I've my Corvette ZR1 tires. I remember, and this was back in the '90s. I paid like $440 a piece for them. I think they've got cheaper since then, but because they're the big wide ones that were kind of unusual at the time. But even so, so I bought these. They're Douglas tires. I remember the name, and I picked them out because I wanted really soft ride, because I didn't think the Crown Vic was right. The ride was bothering me, and that's why I got really soft. I did research. I did really soft springs for the back, and really I picked the lowest pressure shocks I could find. You have to use pressure shocks, and you can't find the old whatever you call them, the non-pressure one, hydraulic shocks they call them, even though they're all hydraulic. The old non-pressure shocks are called hydraulic. And I couldn't find any for it anyway, and I thought, well, the design engineers, who knows, so I did get the pressure ones that are specified for that vehicle, but I did, out of the range of ones that were specified, I got the lowest pressure because I wanted a really squishy ride. I wanted to ride very like the older big cars, old school, and it wasn't. So anyway, these tires felt really bad. The car felt really squirmy, where like if you went like this, you'd feel it all in the rear. No matter where you put the tires, you felt it in the rear. In fact, when the new tires were on the front, the rear felt really squishy. And then what I did was, winter was over, so I rotated them to the front because they got the most traction on them. So winter was over, so I put them on the front just to see what would happen. Put the old, well-worn tires on the back. They're Michelin's. Um, for all I know, I don't know if they came with the car. That would be an awful lot of miles for a tire. It's 100,000. I doubt it. I don't think we put them on. But the squishiness was much better when I put the squishy tires on the front for some reason. You wouldn't expect that, but it made the rear feel tighter when I put the squishy tires on the front. So I've been driving that way, and I've been figuring, well, I really shouldn't. I've been getting the itch to buy premium tires because I thought this is BS, and I've got more money now. I could do that. And I started to get the itch to do that. But I thought, before I do, let me get the car set up properly, because I don't believe you should try to troubleshoot and tune a car, or troubleshoot and figure out fine tuning of a car, unless all the basic tune things, unless the car is basically set up, right? It should be set up like it's new, to the specs. You shouldn't have old springs, old shocks, if the bushings have slop, fix all that before you try to dial it in, because it's just stupid. So I waited, and I threw the strut and spring on. I didn't do the other side yet, if you just tuned in. Only one side. So I've got two relatively new, because I don't have a lot of miles I drive. I got basically new springs and shocks in the back. They've been on there for a while, but they're up to spec. And in the front, I've got one new loaded strut, which is a strut with a spring. It comes that way. The other side I have not done yet. Okay, just to set the ground, the framework for what we're discussing. I've been driving it a couple of days that way because I didn't have time to finish it. Tonight, I took it up for the fastest yet. I took it on the highway. I was going 70, 75, wet roads. I'm telling you, this is a whole different car. The squishy tires are still where they're in the back now, where they're the squishiest, because I need them for traction. There's no track lock on this car, and I'm in Buffalo, so that's another issue we could discuss at a later time. But I am so happy with the feel of this car, the kinesthetics of it. Is that it? Or kinetics? Kinetics. The seat of the pants feel is fantastic. And that's still with an old crappy corner, So now, because I changed two parts at once, who knows? Maybe there was something wrong with that control arm bushing or something. So I'm not certain. Another thing that I thought of, maybe it's the geometry of the front end alignment, because it has not been aligned in years. I don't think it needs alignment, but other than the fact that because the spring's settled, it throws out the alignments back. So I did not get it aligned with the bad springs. I thought I'd wait. So what would that be? The caster or the camber or both? It's not the toe. So anyway, perhaps that accounts for the better tracking of the vehicle. But it is such a pleasure to drive. And this is something that just is I'm very sensitive and tuned into with cars, is that feel, and this thing, it tracks beautiful. The road is not pulling the car. The feel is really nice. It's just a total pleasure to drive. It's more fun to take corners, even if you're not taking them real fast, or if you are. Boy, these cars are flat turning. It's not like the old school, Of course, you look at what they got on the suspension of these cars, even though this is like the civilian Crown Vic. It's got a, decent sway bar in the front, of course, but in the back, the way they've got these axles attached to to the vehicles, it's a very complex array of linkages. And they must have something to do with the flatness of the handling of these Crown Vics. You know, they made a big suspension engineering change in I believe 2003, and this is a 2004. You know, where they went with the rack and pinion and the whole different setup. But yeah, I'm very happy. You know, I was even thinking like maybe I'd be happier with a P71 police car with a heavier suspension and give up some of the, you know, the ride comfort just because the handling would be more, you know, to my liking. You know, and I don't want to drive at high performance. It's just normal handling. I mean, you know, it's all high performance when you think about it. But no, now I understand how good these cars are. Now we've had this car since, when did we get it? It's a 2004. I think we got it in like 2007. It was only a few years old. So it's not like I'm new to the car, but it was Mary's car, my wife, and I took it over a few years ago when she got upgraded, and then I fixed it up. It was a lot of needed things, so I fixed it up down at the shop and started using it as my ride. And I hadn't gotten to this front end yet, so anyway, that's an update on the Crown Victoria. Tomorrow I might put the other do the other side, the other shock, the other strut in spring. I can't imagine how. Hope it doesn't get worse. It's so good now. I can't believe it. I might have to take it off. Maybe we hit on something weird. I doubt it though. I think it's going to be even better. Obviously. Yeah. Much respect for that car, for those Crown Vics, after doing this. Wow. I can't believe I've had those stupid things on the shelf for 2 years and never put them on. So that's it. This is getting pretty long, so I'll let you go. I don't do any editing, so it's just going to be as long as it is. Good night, everybody, and good luck with your Crown Victorias.